teaches biology and science to students.
Science, right? Go. How would you like to be introduced, Larry? Larry Jackson of Extension Services? Sure. Okay. Okay. So we're ready to go. I think we'll try to do question planner. Yeah, everybody's done. So we can kind of keep it rolling, because there's a lot to go through.
I'm not showing it today because I can't get to it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do? Yeah, you'll need to wear it. I'll start with it and then hand it over. Okay, I'd like to welcome you all for our second IDT Roundtable of the spring semester of '09. Today we're going to go over Second Life. We have four guests with us in total, and we'll go with them in succession, because we've got a lot of ground to cover. And if we can, we'll hold questions towards the end, if that's all right. We're going to start first with Betsy Barrett with, I've got to make sure I'm getting this right, Hospitality Management and Dietetics.
It's better than it used to be.
And she's going to share with you what she's been doing up on Second Life. And then after that, we will probably go to Dr. Debra Sellers, who's going to share with us what she's been doing with adult development and aging. And then finally, Dr. Iris Totten will go last with a game simulation that she's been developing to teach geoscience. And then finally we'll end with Larry Jackson from Extension Services, who we hope will pitch the Second Life's user group to you all. So without further ado, we have a lot to go through, so I'm going to pass over the mic. And
let's see if I can get it on there.
I can help everybody keep rolling.
There we go. That looks good. Okay. All right. How many of you are familiar with Second Life and have gotten on and used it and moved around in it? And a few of you. Okay. So most of you. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Second Life and what it is. And then I'm going to demonstrate how it's been used in other universities and in the classroom, and to discuss ways to enhance learning through the use of Second Life, and then explain obstacles with using Second Life in the classroom. I know that Deb and are using it for other things, but we used it actually in the classroom. So first of all, Second Life is a virtual world, and it's created by its residents. And it's the only place that is created by its residents, and it's not really a game, even though when I brought it up in front of the students, they said this is a game, but it's not really a game. It includes the world, where you can go and move around, creations, which most people do create items, and then a marketplace. A lot of people have jobs and employment on Second Life, and they make things and sell them. And I think Larry said they have a friend who makes $200,000 a year selling clothes to residents on Second Life. So it's amazing. There are 13 million residents. 100 countries are represented. Yesterday I was on and I was saying, I looked up and it said Deutsch, do you want Deutsch? And so everything came up that I was looking at in German. So it's amazing that you can go, and so it would be great for Spanish classes or German classes or anything to go in here and use that and get on and use a different language. There are 60% men, ages range from 18 to 85. There is a teen Second Life, and you're not supposed to use this Second Life unless you're 18 or above. It's developed by Linden Labs back in 1999, and they have about 200 employees. This is the user growth, and this shows you through the quarter of 2008. I went looking for new statistics, but couldn't find anything. But in the last 7 days, they've had 500,000 people log on to Second Life. And then land ownership has increased dramatically, and more people are buying land on Second Life to use. And then how to adventure into Second Life. You first go in, and the first thing you have to do is create an avatar. And so you can see here, this is an avatar. And then that avatar can walk, dance, fly, ski, all kinds of things. And so maybe not gracefully sometimes, but they can. You can explore all places, and I think that's the most fun thing, is to go in and explore other places and see what's going on around the world. You can go to Paris, you can go to New York, and just sitting and shopping. You can shop in Paris or New York, any place that you want to go. Another thing is that they're using it for learning, and a lot of people you can go to the Princeton Library. I was in the Princeton Library yesterday, pulled up some old historical books, was looking at those. So you can use it for research. You can meet people, chat, instant messaging, talking, forum groups, and like I'm in I'm in one group for sure, Wildcat, and then I had our own group, our HMD group. I was telling that I just I'm not as good at it as I should be, but I've learned, but I teleported to home, and instead of going to K-State, I went to some wild place, and there were a lot of people there, and they were talking kind of strangely, and so I said, let me get out of here. So it was kind of different. But that you can purchase virtual land, and you go in and you can find all these wonderful places for sale, and you can purchase that. And then you can also work or employment. So like I said, other people are employed. Here is the avatar. You go in and create your avatar, and when you get in, you have a very plain newbie kind of avatar. But once you've been there a while, you're supposed to get better at your avatar and make them look better. So this is my avatar. And I had to go in and purchase the shoes, which were more expensive than the dress. And I had to find a place that I wanted a suit because they had wild clothes. And so I had to find a suit. I bought the necklace, bought the hair. My student gave me that Gucci purse that I carry around. But the shoe, so I had to go in and find these places. I have earrings. Somehow I found those in my inventory. So when you're really into it, they bling, they really do shine. So you want to go in and make your avatar yourself. And I have another avatar also that's a male. And I tell people that my male avatar acts differently than my female avatar. And I was on a listserv, and they were talking about how do your different avatars act on Second Life, and do they have different personalities, and they definitely do. So it's interesting to see that. But anyway, in technical adventures, you can create anything, and building would be the houses, and scripting is going in and making your avatars move. And you're probably doing some scripting now, aren't you? Okay, so you go in and move it. And then you have the real life, which is RL. So you'll see that term RL, that means we're in real life right now. SL is Second Life, so you have to identify the term Second Life. And then SIM is a region in Second Life, and PRIM is a basic Second Life building block. So if you start to build something, you start with the PRIM. And of course, Larry Haverstein knows how to do all that. He's done quite a bit of building and using these. I had a student to build for me. I didn't have time to learn. All right, the business market, they have a marketplace, and they have their own exchange, the Linden exchange, the Lindex. And yesterday, the Lindens they were going from $2.59 Linden for $1 to $2.65, so I averaged it out to about $2.62. So you can purchase Lindens, and you can go in, and I purchase Lindens, but they'll only let you purchase about $10 worth at a time. So that was about $3,000 worth of Lindens, or $3,500 worth of Lindens. And they have business opportunities, and you can see, and here is their Lindex exchange. So one day, they have it 26th in February. That's what it was through February the 24th. So just like a market. And you can see some of the things. I took out the businesses, but for our college, we have the bar and restaurant, and then shoes, and you can go in and make your own shoes and sell them. So it's quite interesting. This is Linden dollars used in Second Life, and when I went in yesterday, they'd had about 22 million transactions or dollars used in Second Life. That would be Linden dollars. So it is a lot of money being exchanged, and I'm sure the Lindens are making some money off of this. Educational opportunities, one of the things you can travel to other universities, Harvard, Ohio University, New York University, Bowling Green University has a big presence. Montclair State University I just found that, and they are really they're having a seminar, aren't they, at Montclair State in a couple of weeks in March. And then Vassar, you can go in and see the Sistine Chapel. So you can go in and you can make it look beautiful, the Sistine Chapel. And then University of Edinburgh are some that are available to go on to. A lot of places won't let you get into unless you have access or allowed to, or a member of the group to get into. But some of them have very public spaces. This is Ohio University, and that's just their campus. And most of the time, they build it to look just exactly like the campus itself. So I'd love to see K-State on there because they have such a beautiful campus. But we'll see. And this is kind of a classroom, and you can see that everybody has their name above that. So that is that's one of the types of classrooms. They have indoor, outdoor classrooms. I'm going to show you some. This is Vassar. I didn't go into but you sit on a little seat, and they'll give you a tour around Vassar if you want to. So it's really pretty, and then you can go back and walk around and see all the different aspects of the Vassar campus. This is another one. This was at, I think, either Ohio University, and they had a classroom there. So you can see the seats you can do whatever you want with types of seats. This is an outdoor classroom. I think, again, this is maybe at Vassar. So, and then here is the Princeton Library, and you can go in and click on recent papers on global warming, and you can see what they've done in recent days about global warming. And then you can click on the screens. I wasn't able to get as much up as I wanted to yesterday, but you can click on the screens and ask for information. So it's a very old, pristine-looking library, and it's fun to go into it and see. Okay, so what we did, that's kind of the Second Life, what's out there. So what we did is, I went to a session with Larry Jackson, and he said, are you interested? He called me, he said, are you interested in Second Life? I said, sure, let's try it. I'm always up for something new and different. And so he said, well, would you like to buy some land, and what would you like to do? And I had thought, I teach this convention and event management class. Think future meetings being held in Second Life. So I thought, well, let's try and see about holding a meeting in Second Life for our students. And so we thought they could plan it. Then we we rented land from the extension office, from Larry. And then I found me a student assistant who was excellent at using Second Life, or good at using Second Life, and I could not have done it without her because she built everything. She kind of managed the site, added people to the site, made assignments. We met with the experts, Larry, and they helped Nellie work through the process and see what was happening in Second Life and how to use it. Then we bought a book and got in and used that too. If we needed a book, we said, what can we do? A basic book. So then we built, I think Larry Havenstein and Nellie built the event center and the chapel, which are very basic. If you see all the other things, they're just not as, they need some work done on them. Let's put it that way. But it is our place. Then we built or purchased furniture, and one of the most fun things that we did, or interesting things, was to going around, and we went to Italy, and we found furniture, because you can type in, so we bought furniture in Italy. You go in, you click on purchase, and all of a sudden it shows up in your inventory, and it's right there in your site. So you don't have to worry about it being shipped or pay for it or, or have place it. And then she placed it. She also built tables and chairs. She built chairs to go into the classroom, which you'll see in a minute. And so it was, we got it all set up, and then we had the students. So here you can see, this is our conference center right here. And this is one of the events that they held. And I took pictures with this, so that's why I'm in all the pictures. because you have to, when you take pictures, you kind of take a picture of yourself. But you can see our conference center, and here's our chapel that we built. We were going to have weddings, but we just didn't have enough time to do that. And then down here is the inside, and this is looking from where our speaker would be, and there's a microphone there, and then our chairs for our classroom, and then our furniture that we bought in Italy, and then here is our table for conferences, etc., if we wanted to do that. And then they did go in, the students went in, and you can see here are some of the students over here on the right and what they were doing. So getting the students ready was a big issue because they came, you think that the students are technologically savvy, but they're not. So we had to develop Second Life assignments. So Nellie worked with those because she had been through the process. So we had to do a Second Life initiation where we had to get them to make an avatar, go to Orientation Island, learn Second Life definitions, make a friend, and go to our home site. So that's our home page. That was our first. And then we had the second assignment, we had a scavenger hunt, so they had to go and find things in Second Life and tell us about it. And then the third thing is that they had to go and purchase something, or really, there are a lot of places you can get things for free, and so she had found those, searched those sites out, so we had them go in and purchase something that was free. And then we had them open a box and obtain items. And that's how you purchase, is in boxes, and then you have to open the box and take the items out. So it's a little complicated. For what we did, we used Second Life. The first thing I did was, after Thanksgiving break, we had a lecture. And I did the lecture, and it was during class time, and it was over a topic that we had in class. And so I did the lecture, and the students came during their class time, but they were sitting at home. So one of the things that they loved is that they could sit at home, and it happened to be a cold day, rainy day, so they could be at home. Another group was doing a project over in over at the dining center. They could not leave, so they sat around at one computer and heard the lecture. And then, so that went pretty well. And then we had I used PowerPoint, which you can see right here. This is during the lecture, and this is the PowerPoint, and you just, you can click on the screen and the PowerPoint goes, and so you can do it. The only problem is if anybody clicks on the PowerPoint, it will move also. So the students were kind of clicking on it, and then we'd have to go all the way around again. But you can see this was Nellie, and Nellie was helping me, and she was sick that day. So I was really kind of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But she was able to come even though she was sick. So there she is sitting there helping me, and you can kind of see that she was typing. And you can see this student is typing. So they were, you could use the instant messenger chat. And then I clicked through and did the lecture. And they could ask questions. Then the projects for their events, we ended up that a lot of students were not very happy with Second Life, or they felt uncomfortable using it. So we had two groups to do projects. I originally had 10, and we had 2 to do it. And so they had to, the 2 who did the project, the 2 groups, they had to write learning objectives for their meeting. They had to develop a budget in dollars and Linden dollars, which was interesting because they had to convert. They had to identify program content and participants, design a layout for their event, purchase flowers, food, tables, and chairs on Second Life, which would be like going anywhere and purchasing, carry out the event, evaluate the event, and then present the PowerPoint about their project. And so that was... and so I had 2 groups that were volunteered, sort of, that were very comfortable with using Second Life. So here is the first one, and it was about producing green meetings, and they did a PowerPoint, and then they had poster displays on each side that were developed by them. And you can see this is the classroom, and their students are sitting there, and the students who are presenting were here, 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 and here, and there they are in my office as they are doing the class. So they did it over the microphone. I used my computer at work. The problem was there were some problems because a lot of students couldn't pick up the sound, so that was a concern. But overall, it went all right. And then the second project event, and again, this was during their class time, the launch of the HMD new name. So we were having a launching of the event of that new name. And so they put posters of faculty outside, and they're supposed to be able to click on the faculty posters, and it would tell you something about the faculty. Then they did awards and honors for our faculty and what's been going on in the college with the students also. They did a PowerPoint presentation about HMD inside. So outside they had, you can see that cocktail tables and chairs, and then they also had a bar. And I looked up one time, and a student was drinking, I mean, our avatar was drinking a beer, so during class. But they had that, so that was their event. And here they are working in the in my office during the event. So that's what we learned from the students: a new method of holding meetings, and meetings of the future will be held in Second Life. We actually went to an event, PCMA, which is Professional Convention and Meeting Association in Kansas City, and they were very interested in the students working with Second Life and thought it might be a future type of meeting to hold. Improvables from the students' perspective, that technology is the major concern. They did not have advanced computers, so that is a major concern. And then we had some in a sorority house, and if there were other people logged on to the computer using Second Life, they couldn't get on. So there's just a lot of things that we need to use, that if they're going to use it, they really need updated, fast computers. Need more time in class to work on Second Life. Additional experiences with Second Life. They wanted more experiences with the Second Life if they're going to use it. Takes as much time in Second Life to plan a meeting or event, but it is much cheaper. So they had to go through all the processes if they were doing it on campus, but still, they had to go through and set it up. And one of the students set everything up on Wednesday, went back on Thursday and found that everything had disappeared because she wasn't a member of HMD. So she had to do it all again, spend all that time doing it again. So we did, from the survey that the students did, I asked them at the end what they thought. 19% liked it. There were like 40 students in the class. 52% said it was acceptable, and 29% did not like it. And that was primarily due to the lack of technology. I think all of them, if they'd had the better technology, would have really liked it a lot. In fact, the students who did the projects loved it after it was over with. They really enjoyed it and learned a lot. What instructors learned, Nellie and I learned, is that it takes a lot of background work. It's not something that you go in and you're going to be great at the very beginning. And I'm not a technologically savvy, so I can do it, but I would rather have somebody else do it. The students not as technologically savvy as we thought. They talk about being technologically savvy, but when it gets into the real, they can do Facebook, that's real easy, punch and click and write. But when you get into the real technological things, they're just not, some of them were just not interested at all. There is a lot of time involved. We worked with the students a lot. It took a lot of time. But it can be done and has uses, but the technology, I think, needs improving. And I think they're working on that. Is that correct? Are they, for educators? No. I thought it was. Maybe, some of the things that we had to do, it was a little hard. That it can be an unusual and creative experience. I didn't say fun, but it was. It was a very, once you get used to it, it's wonderful. And you can spend, the one thing is that it is a time taker. That if you get on, you can spend 30 minutes and it's just gone, just like this. And you can do the most wonderful things when you get on. So, and you can talk to people. Today I was talking to a group, I was on a site and I was talking to a group from some university. And I said, are you in class today? And she said, no, I'm at home in my pajamas. I gave the students the day off or something. So it was kind of interesting. Those that actually produced the event learned a lot about technology, event planning themselves, and other classmates. Because some of the classmates sometimes weren't very nice to them about what they were doing. And, it showed that they really need to be prepared and and sometimes they weren't quite as prepared as they should be, and that's probably my fault, to go back and make sure that they're a little bit more prepared. How can you use Second Life in classrooms? Virtual labs, food and lodging. Hong Kong Polytechnic has a great lab. I think they've taken it down right now, but food service and hotel lodging, and give the students experience. We thought about for a class, a food safety class, show microorganisms. Develop meetings, conventions. Again, it's going to take somebody a technology person who can do this. Form groups, and we've got our K-State online group here. It's a social networking. You can do social networking research. And again, people are doing that with how does your avatar, how do you relate to your avatar, and how does this react, how does the avatar react in certain situations? My male avatar is a lot more aggressive than my female avatar. It's amazing. I feel when I get around these strange people, I want to go away and say, leave me alone. But my male avatar, no problem. It didn't bother me. They can design clothes, shoes, hair, skin, costumes. I think about the interior design students or the apparel marketing textile students could actually do wonderful things with this. Build homes and furniture, become an entrepreneur. I'm teaching an entrepreneur class right now, and I thought, oh, this would be great for entrepreneur, but I didn't want to teach them the technology to do it. Teach distance classes, and I think this is going to be something in the future that I would really like to see, is that because then you feel more involved with the class because they can see other people, and even though they're avatars, they can still see them and talk to them right there in the site. They're all in the same place. Again, practice use of a second language. This is wonderful for language classes because these are people that are really actually using this and talking in the language. Travel to many different campuses, events, and sites around the world. I have been to an event, it was by ISTE, which is the educators group on Second Life, and their event didn't go any better than mine, so because they couldn't hear it, and so I went to one and they said, well, this is the first time all day I've been able to hear, so I was really glad that we could at least hear, basically. Concerns, I thought it was difficult to understand. You do need someone who's skilled and knowledgeable. Time to learn, practice moving around. That was the students. They ended up in places that were strange, and they thought that was, I don't know how they did that. I said I can go and not get in strange places, but I did end up in one or two. Buying property rights, how to understand that. And then the last thing, explaining the use of the money to administration. Every time I would go and say, well, I need a credit card to buy things on Second Life, my accountant would just laugh. She said, what are you doing? And so we had, we gave the students credit cards, and I think they spent about $30 off the credit card. But it was real interesting to hear, now what are you going to use this for? And will you give it back or we'll sell it? No, you can't do that. So it was just real interesting to explain that. And then renting the property too. And I have a DRA account, so I use that for that. And then here is inside Higher Education. I guess they're going to do more collaborative things. And I will try again and may incorporate to other classes. Well, anyway, let's see. Here is, okay. Well, I'll go back. Anyway, there are sites that you can get to. If anybody wants those sites, there's one that's having an event in, are you going to talk about that, Larry, about, no? Okay, well, let me see if I can get back. Okay, this is, Second Life is ISTE, Educational Technology Association in real life, and they do have a site, and then you can go to educators at list, secondlife.com. Now I went on and I found this week, and I got on that, and I got 50 messages a day. I said, I can't do this. It's just too much. So those educators are really on there. Are you on that site, Larry?
I always recommend the digest.
Yes, I would recommend the digest. I've gotten the digest. I went back in the next day and got the digest version because I could not deal with all those emails. And those people, yeah, they were a lot of fun. They're very vocal and talking about different things and issues that were associated with Second Life. So, and I was going to show you my avatar here. Let's see if we can get down to it. I don't have my home page, but here, so there she is, and you can just walk around, and she does all kinds of fun things, like she'll walk like this and prance like this, and you have to get the right walk, etc. So it's just a lot of fun. I wish I could get her to move around, but there she's going to fly a little bit. And you have to be really careful with what you do. So, like I'm not used to, so they're not easy sometimes to move around. So, anyway, I'll just go down with that. Because I can't move. Yeah, so you can see, this is at the IST office. So, and I don't know where we are, but anyway. because there's no, there you go. But this is, we're flying around. Let me put down, stop flying. And she goes down gracefully on a table. No, she's on a chair. Okay, there you go. You can see that you can walk around. And see how she walks? You're supposed to get a special walk. And, you know, the walk that you get to begin with is kind of bad. And see how she stops? Yeah. So we just laugh about the way she stops and what she does. So it's fun. Okay. All right. I think I've taken up my time. So, all right. Mm-hmm.
We'll start next with Dr. Debra Sellers, assistant professor with, I always have to double check, your assistant professor and extension specialist in football development and aging. And thank you, Dr. Barrett.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's it. Thank you, Ben. Hi. It's called an immersive environment for a reason, so we have to get you practicing that a little bit. My name is Dr. Deb Sellers, and I am an assistant professor and extension specialist in adult development and aging. And that's a little bit different. How many of you actually know about cooperative extension? Can I see some hands? Okay, so some folks who don't. So I want to take a little bit of time just to set the table, if you will, to give you a context for the project that I'm involved in. This is my website, and basically as an extension specialist, I am responsible for developing, implementing, and evaluating programs in adult development and aging across the state. And in order to do that, I work as part of cooperative extension with county agents across the state of Kansas. We have county agents in every county. There's 105. And so they're grassroots, on the ground in local communities, taking programs at the state level or even sometimes the national level and bringing those to the citizens of Kansas. This is the third branch of a land-grant university: research, teaching, and outreach, or cooperative extension. And so I wanted to let you know what I'm actually doing as a faculty member within the School of Family Studies and Human Services, because I am held within the College of Human Ecology, but I work across the state of Kansas. Is that making sense to everybody? Okay, that's one of the missions of the land grant. My particular area of interest is in adaptive aging. So looking realistically at both the gains and the losses in old age. Because believe it or not, there are some gains. And most of us know about the losses. And so we want to have a realistic and balanced view of aging and bringing that to the citizens of the state of Kansas. There's something else you should know about me as we move forward on this journey together. And that is that I am representing the newbie faculty when it comes to Second Life. I am not a techie. And as a matter of fact, I had an experience just the other day. I was working at home on my home computer, and something happened, and I called the help desk. Now, this was not a K-State help desk. This was, I was at home, so I was calling the support people. And was explaining my problem, and the customer service rep was very kind, but used a lot of jargon and, some really complex instructions about what it is I should be doing and what perhaps I should know. And I was getting a little frustrated. Has that ever happened to you? Oh, come on, please say yes. You're going to make me feel really bad. Okay, so it's happened to you. So I said, I got a little frustrated, and I said, you know what? Could we just stop and regroup here, and could you, maybe explain this to me like I was 4 years old? And the customer service rep stopped, and he went, okay, honey, could you please put your mommy on the phone? Okay, now that didn't really happen to me, but it's a great computer joke. Don't you agree it's a great computer joke? But the point is that it could have happened to me. I want to disabuse you of any notion you may have that I can take pictures with my phone, because I can't. Or that I can actually export my addresses out of my contacts list, because I can't. So why am I here in Second Life and talking to you at a technologically oriented roundtable? Well, I do have an appreciation for what Second Life can bring to my work and to the citizens of Kansas and the county agents that I work with in terms of it being an educational modality, something, a tool in my toolkit, if you will, that can really help me in a way that I wouldn't be able to do without it. But how I've taken care of my own deficits in technological know-how is by partnering with the people who've got it. Larry Jackson, you've heard that name, you'll hear it a lot when it comes to Second Life. Larry Havenstein. Folks within Kansas State University are really within the land-grant university system on the cutting edge. They are the gurus of knowing about Second Life. I'm also lucky enough to be a member of what's called e-extension. Have any of you heard of e-extension? Just a few hands. Okay. E-extension is a partnership of 74 land-grant universities across the nation. And they've come together to address critical issues. The idea being that cooperation and collaboration and the leveraging of resources can provide a better product to more people. And one of the areas is beef cattle. And one of the areas is financial security. And one of the areas is family caregiving. Well, that's a really nice fit with adult development and aging, right? That's actually one of my areas of interest. So I'm part of this national collaboration, and they're interested on a national level within cooperative extension, looking at the possibilities within Second Life. So I'm collaborating with the folks at K-State who've got the Second Life knowledge, and I'm collaborating with the folks at E-Extension who have that knowledge, and I'm bringing some subject matter knowledge, if you will, the adult development and aging perspective, along with some other colleagues who have knowledge in housing and some other areas to create this project. But before we move on into my specific project, I want to just share with you what cooperative extension is doing on a national level. So I just have a 47-second, I think it's 47 seconds, very short video to be able to show you so that you get an idea of all the different things that are possible within Second Life. Can you put it on next screen? Thank you. And if you could just get me back to my screen. So what did you see in that video? Say again? County Fair, yes. Well, cooperative extension is famous for participation in county fairs, absolutely. So they built, E-Extension built a state fair, a national fair, I guess, on their island, which is called Morrill Island in Second Life. What were some of the other things you saw as part of that? Someone in a wheelchair, that's my project, thank you very much. We're going to talk about that. And it was the livability house. What else? The mowing, and you were involved, Larry, in building the mower that they, yes, and that was the turf grass, the turf grass project. So you can actually get on the mower and cut the grass and see what happens, basically. So there's a lot of variety within cooperative extension of what the possibilities are. And so let's talk about my project in particular. And basically what we did is we constructed what we call the livability house. Now you might see that we have a disagreement about how we should actually spell livability. But we're working that out. This is our prototype home, all right? The livability house. And the idea is to raise awareness of universal design principles and assistive technology. Universal design being the built environment, things that any and all of us can benefit from, like stepless entries. Okay? Someone with a disability would benefit from that, but the rest of us can benefit from that too. Wide enough doorways. Something that a doorway a wheelchair could fit through, but also wider doorways are good for all of us. So we have a list of about 37 foundational universal design principles. And then assistive technology being, those gadgets that can help us. So as an example, if you have arthritis in your hand and you find it difficult to open jars, one of those rubber jar openers could be considered assistive technology. And the idea is to be able to assist caregivers of people with cognitive or physical challenges to manage their burden of care, to help manage their stress, and to help people, actually, a secondary is to be able to help them remain in their homes longer. Universal design and assistive technology can do that. We know that for a fact. The blog is up there. I also had a handout. If you didn't pick one up, you can pick one up on your way out. But the blog is listed on the handout. You can go and actually read about the progress of this project. It's slower than I would like. I'll just say that right now. I'm a newbie and I don't have any funding. We're searching for funding, but we haven't got it yet. So this is a prototype home. And it was built simply to be able to explain the project to folks such as yourself, or to funders in particular. And I want to just take you through a few of the features of the house to give you an idea of what all is involved in it. Here's the kitchen. I want you to, for a moment, think about the stove in your kitchen. Pretend you're going to make yourself some macaroni or something. Where are your knobs? The knobs on your stove, where are they? On the top? On the back? Okay. Really hard for somebody in a wheelchair. Dangerous, even potentially. So in the kitchen, the knobs are on the front of the stove. We have some accessible countertops for somebody in a wheelchair. This is all really cool stuff, I think. But you know what? In terms of what we can do in Second Life, we can bring students to the kitchen. And we can have them problem solve. Okay, if you were in a wheelchair, they can actually get into a wheelchair, their avatar can. And we can help them problem solve some of these design problems, or even to get the experience of what it might be to have to reach across the stove and be able to not be able to turn those on and off safely. So this is just, one of the ideas that we have for the house. The other thing is we were talking about assistive technology. We actually have some of those gadgets and gizmos present, scattered throughout the house. This is the kitchen. In the kitchen, we have a food guard. How many of you know what a food guard is? Or have you ever seen one? What's it for? Thank you so much. Absolutely. They can use the food guard to push their spoon. Imagine that you have peas. And if you have upper extremity limitations, it might be difficult to keep the peas on your spoon, but a food guard can help you with that. So again, in Second Life, people can come and learn about all of these different things that can help caregivers and people with a disability. We hope at some point to make them animated so that you could actually pick up a modified spoon and try it out for yourself. We have an accessible garden. This wasn't one of our original ideas that we had, but we thought it was pretty cool, so we went ahead and built it. And when I say we, it wasn't me. I have, again, some of the knowledge in adult development and aging, but it was the experts in e-extension and at KSRE who helped build all of these items in Second Life. The accessible garden, raised flower and plant beds, and paved walkways. But again, what can we do here? Well, you can't see it, but we have a seating area. And so we envision that caregivers, and there is an organized caregiver support group in Second Life, could come here and utilize the space to talk about their challenges, and the joys of caregiving, or even after they've toured the house to talk about, well, I tried that plate guard one time and it didn't really work for me or the person that I was caring for. So again, another opportunity here. And then one of my most favorite parts of the Livability House is our service dog, Jeb. And previous to moving into academia, I was a therapist, mostly in long-term care and acute care hospitals. And I had Jeb, the service dog. He was part of my therapy sessions with a lot of clients. And I said to Luann one day, wouldn't it be cool to have a service dog in the Livability House? It's been one of my dreams to be able to show people what service dogs can do for people with disabilities. The real Jeb can turn off light switches. He can take off your socks. He can get clothes out of the dryer. And wouldn't it be fun in Second Life to be able to come into the house and give Jeb a command and see him do that and be able to imagine what it would be like if you had a dog as a person with a disability? And of course, I think he's absolutely adorable, don't you? Yeah, he looks just like the real Jeb, too. Okay. But the point of all of this, of everything we're doing within the Livability House, is ultimately to help people, and hopefully people will change their behaviors, that we can positively impact upon quality of life for caregivers and the people that they're caring for. So we talked about the fact that this house is very much just a prototype. What we really want to do is have a competition within Second Life and invite builders to build the home of their dreams, if they will, including our universal design features. And then we would have a competition and judge those, and that winning home would become the model that we would use in all of our programming. So this, again, is just very basic for us. What we would do with that basic universally designed home is overlay the assistive technology on top of that. Now, I have to say something here, because the assistive technology that you might need as a person with traumatic brain injury is different than the assistive technology that you might need if you've had a stroke or if you have Alzheimer's disease. So our first population that we're going to focus on is people with traumatic brain injury and their caregivers, for a lot of reasons that I won't bore you with, but that's our first population. But what we really want to be able to do is build a neighborhood. So universal design is universal. All of the homes would have that. But then we would have one home for people with traumatic brain injury and one home for people with Alzheimer's and one, you can see, and we'd build the neighborhood. And the neighborhood itself would be accessible with curb cuts and signage for people with low vision. That's a big dream. I will be happy if I can just get the house built, okay? But I wanted to share with you the vision to give you an idea of the possibilities. Okay, the bottom line. Why Second Life? Why are you dabbling in Second Life? Why are you pursuing this project? Do you have any ideas? What cost? Thank you. Absolutely. I couldn't even dream of pursuing this project in real life because of the millions of dollars it would cost to actually construct this home. And if I constructed this home, it would probably be stuck in Manhattan, Kansas, and people would have to travel to it, right? But within Second Life, I can build it and people can come from all over. Now, I talked in the beginning about how my mission is to the citizens of the state of Kansas, right? Do we really think that caregivers and older adults and actually anybody of any age, that there are that many people in Second Life across the state of Kansas? What do you think? Probably not, okay? So what we want to do is build an online course utilizing these little videos, like this video that I showed you today, what we call a machinima, and be able to take specific features and build an online course, building feature upon feature, assistive technology device upon assistive technology device. And then those county agents would be able to go out to the communities and take that online course and present it and teach it in their local communities. So for me, it's a dual purpose. I'm not just interested in being in Second Life, although I think that's great. I also need to be able to come out to the local community. Also, it's likely to be out of date very fast as well if I build it in real life, whereas in Second Life, I can easily, not me again, but the people that I'm working with can easily go in and modify that house at any point in time. Okay. Jeb again, right? Here's my bottom line for you. Is this hard? Absolutely. Make no mistake that it's difficult to be in Second Life. But it's a project that I've dreamt of, and it's giving me a way to be able to do that, and so I think it's worthwhile. Sometimes I wish I had never gone down this road, actually. But I always come back to the fact that it's so exciting to be able to do this. And when I get discouraged and kind of not sure that I can do it all, I refresh my inspiration by thinking about this fact. And that is the meaning of the word avatar. Does anybody know what avatar stands for? Or what it means? Counteract some particular evil in the world. Wow, that's pretty powerful. And so when I need some encouragement, I just think about that. Because if that's not inspiring, I don't know what is. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Iris.
I need to get my PowerPoint on here. Yeah, it's on there. I'm going to stand over here. Talk, and I'm going to have to touch it. It's called round table. Yeah.
I think it's actually, when we first did it, I think it was under accessibility housing.
Yeah, and I'll need that after I go through the slides too. Just log out
And find it.
and then log me back in.
I don't know. I don't know if everybody heard you, Larry, which you.
The
The question was, how can you find the livability house?
easiest way is to type in personal state area.
If I close the file, can I open it back up?
Yeah, sure.
Places.
So I should, if I can do this.
On that island is in fact. It's called Laurel Island.
And we also do
And
have
then
a
I need to
video
get back
about
on
the
it.
accessibility, about the livability phone, and that's on your handout. If you just wanted to go and, I think it's about a 2.5-minute video.
And now we have Dr. Iris Totten, Associate Professor of Geology, who's working on a project to teach geoscience with a game simulation in Second Life, I think specifically the Team Grid.
Yes.
So I'll hop out of the way.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to start with a PowerPoint that's about 10 slides long, and then I'll take you into our world and actually navigate around so you can see some of the things that we have built. Okay. All right. So just some interesting facts about video games and platforms similar to Second Life. And if you have any teenage children or even younger children, you know how video games are everywhere. Okay. So over half of American adults play video games. 4 out of 5 young adults play. And among the adults, computers are the most popular gaming device. Okay? So browser-style games. And then there's the gaming consoles, so the Xbox, the PS3, the Wii are preferred. But virtual worlds are growing fast. And these numbers came from this Pew Internet and American Life project from December of last year. So they're pretty recent figures. Okay. 53% of the American adults age 18 and older play video games. 1 in
and about 1 in 5 adults play every day or almost every day, which is hard to believe. I don't play a video game every day, but a lot of adults do. And there's a number of video gamers among adults, substantial. And then 97% of teens play video games, okay? So some of our presenters have talked about college students in particular getting in Second Life and maybe not being able to move around as easily or not being tech savvy. The project that I'm working on is actually with high school students, and I would say the opposite is true. They are very tech savvy, and they can get in the world, and with about 10 minutes, they are functioning and flying and moving and building and unbuilding and changing things around. And so that population is very, very tech savvy, and the virtual world is just amazing to them. Okay, so I have myself and 2 co-PIs. We have a funded project through the Kauffman Foundation out of Kansas City. And it was funded, we're in our 2nd year now. And the project was designed to create virtual learning environments that teach high school students about earth science. And we picked 2 categories in earth science. One is geologic time, and the other was water. So this is designed, I mean, there needs to be able to show content gains and actual learning occurring in this particular, I'll call it a game. You can judge at the end if you think it's a game or not in this type of simulation. For those of you that haven't heard of Kauffman, they sort of have 2 missions in their foundation. It's entrepreneurship and education. And so a lot of the projects that they fund are geared towards not just educating, but specific demographic groups. So Kansas City, minority students. And so our project is targeted to that as well. And we also have a developer that's working with us, and her name is Stacy Fox. And any of you that have done anything in Second Life, she's fairly well known in Second Life, and she's fabulous. So it's UMKC and Kansas State University. Okay. And this is our logo, GeoWorlds. So our goal was to investigate really the impact of creating this 3D immersive environment on students and their learning in the earth sciences. Okay. And because I think probably one of the most powerful things about Second Life is the ability to have collaborative interaction in the world. So students are in there and they are problem solving together as a group. And so, and we'll talk more about this when I take you into the world. The other beautiful thing about Second Life is when students are in there, they're communicating with each other, and they can do it 2 ways. One is via text, so they're actually communicating, they're writing what they're saying to each other. And all of that is recorded in the world. So you can go back in, and so that's like a cognitive psych person, which is one of our co-PIs, is really excited about this, because she can go in and look at the dialogue of the students and see literally how they are problem solving, how they're negotiating different alternative solutions to the things they're trying to figure out. That's very powerful, and it's very difficult to do in a real classroom. Okay. The other way that you can communicate in Second Life is through a headset, which is the way that I usually communicate, and that's real time. So, you know, somebody else has it on, you're in the world, you're 2 avatars, you can hear each other, and you can talk just like you do in real time. Okay, and all of the content in here that we have designed is tied to the state and national science standards. Because we're bringing it into the schools, it has to be tied to the standards. And there's also integrated student assessment as well. Okay, kind of a busy diagram. This shows basically the hierarchy of the content that we were trying to show in one of our worlds. So the world that deals with geologic time, we've created 4 time scenarios that students can go back: the Cambrian, the Permian, the Cretaceous, and the Eocene. And these are time scenarios that you can see the rocks, but to go back and actually be able to interact in them, you wouldn't be able to do. So it's an ideal topic to use in Second Life to teach. And the meta concepts between these time scenarios that we're trying to hit upon is scale, macro scale processes, micro scale, change, how organisms change from one time scenario to the other, life forms, you know, what was there in one and what was not there in the next one, and then this interconnectedness and how environments affect the way that things change throughout. So it's kind of an evolution type of topic. So this is just our flow chart. And as you go through, students will look at how the continents have moved in the different time scenarios and how that affects climate, which therefore affects the organisms that you see in these different times. And then these are the scenario activities that they actually do in the world. So we have scavenger hunts. We have them designing future worlds. There's a spot in there where after they've gone through the different scenarios, they have to fast forward 50 million years and say, okay, design what you think a creature would look like in 50 million years, and then all of the parts that you put in that creature you have to justify. So why is that an evolutionary advantageous feature to have? And so lots of critical thinking going on in this world. Okay. We also have a 2D interface that ties into the 3D Second Life interface, and this is our web. And this is especially useful when you're trying to bring things into the K through 12 classroom. It's a learning management system for teachers. So all of the activities that students are doing in the world, they're typing in text boxes, and it's all going to this learning management system. So at the end of the day, the teacher can go in there and see all of the answers to all of the questions of the different activities. And so it's managed for them. And that was a very important piece to have for teachers, and getting teachers to buy into using this, is that they know what's going on in the world and they can keep a handle of all the things that the students are doing. So this is our website, and anyone can go to it. It's www.geoworlds.org. And there's actually a link. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. The other two speakers were talking about the adult Second Life world. So this is in the teen grid. And what I've heard is the teen grid is going away, which is kind of scary for us. But what the teen grid is, it's a parallel world, but it's restricted to 13 to 17-year-olds. Okay, so it's intended to be a safe place for students to interact and migrate around with getting rid of all the adult things that exist in the adult world. And there's challenges to working with the teen grid that I'll talk about at the end, but that's what we've created it in. Okay, so you can't see this world unless you have access to the teen world. And to get access as an adult to the teen world, you have to go through all kinds of processes with Linden Labs to be able to get in and be approved, an adult approved in this world. So, okay, so here are just some snapshots of the first world. So the first world is Terra World. And kind of what it looks like is there's these four sort of geodesic domes in the middle, and that's where most of the resource materials are. So there's videos, there's PowerPoints, there's things that you can click on, and information-wise. And then each of the domes represents a time period. So they go into it, they look around, and then they can teleport out into the actual environment where all of the organisms are, all of the plants, all of the animals. And as they go out into the world, they can click on the plants, they can click on the animals, and information comes up. Okay? Sometimes it takes them right to Wikipedia, so it gives them all this information about the organism, the phylum, the class, the age range, when they lived. And then also out in the world, we have quest cards. And these are just, they look like little postcards laying on the ground. And the student, that's one of the activities, is they have to find all the quest cards in each of the scenarios. And there's 4. So once they find them, they click on it, it opens up, and there's a quest. And as a group, and you can do it individually, but I think it's intended more for a group, they go in and they have to read it. And the quest could be something like, in the Cambrian, they have to count all of the organisms and decide what phyla they're in, and then come up with a histogram to show that in this particular world, perhaps the arthropods, that they were the abundant phyla compared to the other ones. So that's an example of a type of quest that they would do. Okay. There's a geotime alignment activity where after they've gone through the 4 different time slices, then they have to order them based upon different pieces of information so they're in the correct geologic order. There's places in there, and again, when we get in there where we have a big auditorium where students make presentations. So at the end, like when they do their future evolutionary creature, then they have to present it to the rest of the class in world. And the other kind of really neat thing that we have in this as well is measuring engagement time. So whenever the student logs into the world, they're linked with an ID. So we know as soon as they're in there, and we can plot where they are in the world as they migrate around. And there's a lot of uses for that. One is to show you bottlenecks in your world, places where things aren't working very well, or places where students are collecting, or if you have a student that's been in one place the whole entire time, but yet they've been able to finish all of the activities, then there's another answer of how they got all the answers. So it identifies cheating and that kind of thing. But there's a map, and basically there's an XY coordinate that's taken every minute or so while they're in there, and then that's plotted on a map, so you can see how they've navigated through. And that also translates to engagement time, which is really, that's how gamers judge whether their product is successful or not. Where we look at content and content gains, they're looking at engagement time. Just some of the assessments that we also are using. There's pre-post surveys. Hoffman was very big. Anything that they fund, you've got to have all this assessment built into it so that they can say, okay, we know this worked, this didn't work. And so we've got assessments that are related to the geoscience content, that are cognitive, and that are attitudinal. So students, before they go in the world, there's a pre-test for all three of those. And then after they've interacted with the world, there's a post-test as well. And then all of the assessments that they do inside the world as well. And there's overall thinker questions, concept mapping. Those are other activities that they do in the world. Okay. So we have, right now we have done small live demos in Indian Woods Middle School, which is in Shawnee Mission. So we tried this out with about 15 seventh graders as an after-school activity. And it was really, really funny. They got in, and none of them had ever been in Second Life before, so they had their avatars. They got in, and the first thing they learned how to do was to manipulate the avatar and make all the changes to the way the avatar looked. So the girls probably they wanted to spend the whole time just changing the hair, changing the face, changing the clothes, and so we were like, okay, we've got to move on past that. So that's one lesson that we learned. Once you get kids in there, you've got to give them enough time to just really play, because there's a lot of eye candy in Second Life, and let them play before you expect them to actually do the things, the content type of things. The other thing that was amazing was within 10 minutes, I had one male student who had created a gun, this big gun, don't even know how, and was running around, shooting and playing, had taken some of the things that we had created in there that weren't, what do you call it when you can't change it? Some of the objects you can lock, and some of them you can't. So he'd found an object that wasn't locked and had totally morphed it into something else and rebuilt it. And this is a kid that had not been in Second Life ever before, and in 10 minutes he was doing this. So, I mean, we were amazed. So the one big thing we got from this is that, okay, they really like it, but keeping them focused on the content and the things that you want them to do is a challenge. And so maybe when you go in, you've got to isolate parts of the world so they're only doing this one-time scenario as opposed to moving all over the place and just, fluttering around. And so there's 3 pilot schools that we're going to, this is outdated, it's actually this fall. We've got the 2 preparatory schools, Tolbert and Brookside, they're in Kansas City, and we're also going to Junction City High School, which I'm very excited about. In the fall, all of the 9th graders at Junction City High School are going to use this, and there's 400 of them. So we should get some really good data from that. Okay. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to navigate in the world. And I will say that I like gadgets, but I'm not really a techie either. And I've learned that there are ways to move in Second Life more gracefully than I have been doing before, if I can figure out. Okay. So that's me right there. Let's just fly and see. Okay. So as I go up, trying to get you a feel for One of the Stacy Fox that's working on this, she actually uses a joystick to move around in the world, and it's a lot smoother. All right, we're just going to walk. And also, let me show you this too. So this is me. I have a GeoWorlds t-shirt on, and these are all the things that you can play with and make your hair different colors and wear different clothes, and just like that Betsy said with the first.
You're right. My students spend a lot of time on their hair and clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
They love that.
Now, there's a way to show it, and just for those of you that are interested in how this is built, this is a wire mesh underneath all of this. So there's a command that you can do, which I just learned and now I don't remember, where you can remove all of the sort of surface textures that you see, and literally it's just a web of vectors interconnecting. So when you're in here terraforming or building, you're pulling those vectors in different ways. So you can make this landscape do whatever you want. You can make it mountains, you can make it flat. So here we are, we're in the Cambrian, and I just wanted to show you some of the resources that we have. So everywhere that you see this means that there's a video. And all of the video...
More than 30 invertebrate species, such as jellyfish, starfish, trilobites, and snails emerge all of a sudden. These living beings have complex body systems, such as the circulatory system, and also very complex organs. For instance,
So these are all over, and they're tied, and we didn't make these movies. These are from lots of different places, the Chicago Field Museum, the Discovery Channel, places here and there. And so for educational purposes, you can pull these in here as long as you're not going to go commercial with it to sell it. And they tie into each of the scenarios and each of the time periods and what you're trying to teach with them. Each of these side things have PowerPoint also. Now these we created ourselves. And so students click around, and when they first get in the world, the first thing that we created for them to actually interact with it is a scavenger hunt. So they have directions to come over here, and this thing pops up. And we've talked about turning this into a machinima video instead of them actually reading, because it's very text intensive right now. But this tells them exactly, to start with, how to go through. So they would read this, and after they do their toolkit, it says answer these pre-knowledge questions, drop them into my avatar. So they follow these instructions, and they have a scavenger hunt. That pops up. And these are all these questions, and they're designed to get them to explore around the world so they understand. So things like find the great predatory invertebrate animal of the Cambrian. And so they're going through, and they're basically using all of the media, the PowerPoints and the videos, to try to answer these questions. Okay, so let's go out into one of the scenarios. Let's do a dinosaur one. For those of you that are ever thinking about actually having a project like this and building things in it, you can build in other software and then bring things in. So for example, the developer, Stacy Fox, she uses a thing called Blender. So she takes sculpties, puts them into Blender, and shapes them the way she wants. So some of our dinosaurs have been made that way. And then she brings them and drops them into Second Life and then puts a texture on them. So not everything has to be built in the world. You can build things using other software and then bring it in. Now these right here were built in the world, and they don't look as good as the newer ones. We've learned as we've gone through, and actually we're with a new developer. So our original developers. So we click here, and we say go to scenario 3, and it takes us out. So now I'm out here, and this is the Cretaceous. So this is where you would find dinosaurs. So like this is one form of a dinosaur. There's its name. Click on it. It says, okay, what do you want to do? Well, I want to go to the website. So go to the page. So it takes me there, and it should take me to a page that's giving me information about this particular dinosaur. And it's the wrong page, but this is about Purgatoris. In theory, it should be about that dinosaur. But this is the kind of information that you would find. So the age range, the kingdom of island. This is all information the students need to help them. And the way we created these or designed them is I went through massive amounts of material and said, okay, what does the literature say was sort of a comprehensive representative fauna for this particular time period. So we came up with a list of all the organisms that we think occurred at that, both the animals and the plants. And then I put together a PowerPoint with lots and lots of pictures, gave it to our designers, and they tried to say, okay, this is what we want it to look like, and then they did the magic and tried to recreate it. Let's see if I can show you quest card. I lost my bottom two. Yes, I have these blue things here. And they give us indicators about environment. So everywhere a student sees a blue thing, in this particular time period, this is about the temperature depth on the inside. Again, this is an overall. I'm under the water. Well, in this scenario, we don't have it, but one of the other ones, in the water, we have these little postcards, and that's what I was looking for. To see if we could click on that to see the postcards. So when you did this with a class, you would have 2 times students in the program, and they would each be given a section of the island to work on, and that work with So we've learned a lot, sorry, I'm kicking you, through our first and second year of doing this. Again, the team grid is very hard, so we've actually bought an additional island. And just for you, because I don't think anybody mentioned it, if you wanted to buy an island, if you get an educator's discount, it's much cheaper than if you use someone else. So just the initial purchase of the island is $700, and then there's a maintenance fee every month. It's around $150. And that's forever. So the $700 is a one-time purchase. $150 you pay to Lincoln to maintain your island as long as you can. So we've purchased an island in the adult grid because I'd like to use this college content. So a lot of the things we've created in the team grid, we can stuff into an avatar and actually transfer it. So you can see the value of using this. You're doing it with science, but you can do it with things that you can teach. And the other thing I didn't say is, so one of my co-PIs is in Kansas City, one is in here. So graphically, it's hard to meet. And so we have weekly meetings inside. We have an auditorium, and we just say, okay, we're going to buzz in at this time. We all have our headsets. And we're in there, we can talk and work things out. And so from that point of view, it's very nice. And then from a scalability point of view, so if we were trying to use this, let's say for schools globally in other places, there's nothing keeping them from doing that. They just need an avatar to be able to do it. And we have students from Jordan, and there's students from China, there's students from wherever. So possibilities are really extensive. And it's a cheap way to do it. I mean,
What does it cost to hire a consultant?
um,
Or your designer, or et cetera?
our designer to do, and this isn't finished, so she's putting a lot more in there, it's $30,000 for one world. And that's what we're paying. Oh, yes. Yes. Okay, so there are things called AI bots. And these are, they look just like avatars, just like people, but they're not real people. And they're sort of trained to be helpers in the world. And so we're going to have 2 of them. So that means as a student is migrating through, if they have a question like, I can't find this answer, or the avatar has a series of questions that you have trained it to be able to recognize. And so then it has a response. And so it can say, well, they won't give the student the answer, but it can say, you need to go to this part of the island to find that answer. And the more questions that the avatar gets from the students, the more fine-tuned the avatar becomes at answering. Because then it recognizes repeated questions and repeated answers. But when you're interacting with the AI bot, you can't tell that it's not another real person avatar. So, and they're just like helpers through the world. And an AI bot, training an AI bot, it costs, well, we've paid, it's about $4,000 to develop one. So, I mean, it costs money to do this, definitely. Our grant was a $700,000 grant to do 2 worlds, so it's significant. And I'm sure, there's some programmers you can pay that cost less than others, but our first programmers that we had, I mean, if you don't pay that much, you don't get that much. So, don't always try to go the low ball offer. Any questions from, I know people are probably thinking how they could incorporate their own things in there.
When you said it costs about $30,000 to get one world created, what's the time frame for doing something like that? You hire someone.
Well, I mean, a lot of it depends on you. So you have to get the curriculum and the ideas and everything to the developer and the pictures. And then, I mean, you could do one in 4 weeks, and it depends on your developer as well. The Teen Grid's been harder because just getting our developer on the grid has taken 4 weeks. They have to go through background checks. There's all kinds of things. Linden is not a very responsive company, I think. If you have a problem in Second Life, I don't know if anybody else has worked with it, it's very hard to find a person to talk to. And unless you find that magical concierge number and you can talk to Claudia Linden, then you're good. But everything is, they don't want to talk to you in real life. So you have to submit a ticket if you have a problem, and then you have to wait to get the ticket answered. And so they're not great on the support. But so I was at a meeting in Kaufman 2 days ago, and they said that the Teen Grid is going to be rolled into the adult grid. And I don't know which I don't know why they didn't do this to begin with. Perhaps and this is just my speculation, on the adult world they may have places that are just isolated where you can't get into it unless you've been teen approved. But I don't know why that's better than having a second platform. But
actually, the Teen Grid is part of the grid, it's just off to the side.
yeah.
So, what they're doing now.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that you would not want your 13-year-olds to find. And so, I mean, I can see why, but if they ever want to move forward with a large-scale education use for the K through 12, they're going to have to figure that out, because that's really been difficult.
When it started back in 2003, it wasn't a Teen Grid. That was the reason why you see PG areas and mature areas, because PG areas were supposed to be teen, but people didn't.
But it was up to the discretion of the avatar whether you do see that. Yeah, they each have a rating, whether it's at the top. Yes, see in the middle. Yeah. Yeah. And these little, if anybody should, so this is the mini map. Like, this shows you, these are, let's see if I can make it bigger. Now, is this just my grid? I'm trying to think. On the adult world, when you hit map, it shows you a point where you are, and then you can see all the things around it, so you can go to the different places. So we bought 2 islands next to each other, and I'm trying to think, what's an island? Is it 16 acre? How big is an island? I want to say it translates to 16 acres or something like that, but it's big, and it's a volume space, so it's not just what you have, you know, you have all the way up and all the way down to use. So it's, and the water, I mean, you can, right now I've got water all around there, so there's parts of the island that are submerged, but if you pulled the water out, you'd have a lot more land that you could play with and build on. It's plenty of space to be able to work on. And there's different things you can do, for example, like the environmental setting. I can make it sunrise. I can make it midnight. You can make the world look different. There's a resolution setting, which is, I don't know if I didn't check to see, every computer has its own, it's under preferences. Oh, wait, here. Okay, all right. So if you bump this up, everything looks better, but it moves slower, just like resolution everywhere else. So like the textures and things, they become more crisp. And another thing to mention is, like, when part of the grant bought 20 laptops and a laptop cart for each school that's participating in it. And it's intended to be wireless. Well, Second Life does not work as well wireless. You really want a hard Ethernet connection. And so we've had to figure out, so it's great that they have the laptops, but you go into schools and they don't have the infrastructure, the networking to have enough Ethernet, access for 20. So you're better off in some ways just going to if they have a computer lab with desktops that are already set up, using it there. But part of this was we needed a buy-in from the schools to want to participate. And so laptops for that.
There's a lot of information here.
Yeah.
So what kind of teaching tools do you see it as? I mean, is it supposed to be relaying the main points of the class, or is it supposed to reinforce what you already taught, or is it a lab that, kids come to the zoo and see?
And it's all of those things. So we're using it in after-school activities. In some places, we're using it as a replacement for the curriculum that they would be teaching in the school. So they have to cover certain concepts about geologic time. Instead of using a textbook and paper and activities like that, they would come here and learn it. So there's lots of different ways you could use it. But it is intended to teach content.
So how do you monitor that they are getting everything?
Everything. Well, part of it is all of the things that they're doing in there. They're they're working through the quest cards, and all of their answers to that are going to the learning management system, so the teacher can watch that. And then the pre and the post surveys. We know what they knew content-wise before they went in. Then they interacted with the world for a week, and then we know what they knew afterwards.
You track where they went and what they repeated in the world?
Yes. Yes. You can track where they went and where they repeated in the world. And that was important for teachers because, they're like, okay, it's great, my kids are in here, but I don't know what they're doing. And so...
I'd like to add that tracking is something that developers added to your island. It's not a natural thing.
That's right. That's something we added to our island, yes. But, it's an XYZ grid and gross terms, and so it's not hard to do. Okay.
Running close on time. Larry Jackson, come up.
Thank you.
Moment.
Yeah. Talk too much? Okay.
Larry just wanted a couple of seconds here. He's from Extension Services.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just hold this because I'm not going to be up here but 60 seconds, I think. You've seen one of some of the flyers in the back. One of them is the Spring Tech Bites series, and next Thursday in Hale Library will be the next in that series. And it's kind of is it an introduction to Second Life?
Very basic. We're going to go through how to make an avatar initially the better way, then going to the public way.
Okay.
And then some basic tips and tricks.
So if you're fairly new to the world, then this Tech Bites that's next week may be of some interest to you. The real reason I'm up here as well, however, is to simply invite any of you who are interested to be a part of a users group that is just brand new, gotten started. We've met like 2 or 3 times. We're trying to meet about monthly, but I don't have a solid schedule committed at this point. But my name is Larry Jackson. My EID is Ljackson, Ljackson. Just send me an email, and I'll be happy to add your name to our listserv if you'd like. We're trying to meet about once a month. Every other month is usually someone like Iris or Deb or Betsy talking about their projects. And then every other month is more of a learning opportunity. And this last month, or earlier this month, Larry gave a little demo on basic building and scripting. Again, this is brand new. It's not by any means a terribly organized or formal meeting. But we'd welcome you to be a part of it if you'd like. And it was created so that we can kind of look at this from an educational perspective as opposed to playing or goofing off or whatever. The provost really endorsed our doing it so long as we took a serious approach to it and how it can apply toward the university and its mission. So our next one, I hope, will be in mid to late March. I think Rosemary and Hope are going to... Yeah. Well, they're going to talk about their project. Maybe that Rosemary will pitch it to Hope, and she's out of Florida, and so it'll actually be done. She'll be teaching the thing from in Second Life. So that'll be coming up here in 2 or 3 weeks, but we don't have a date hammered out just yet, but we'll let you know. Thank you. Yeah.
Can you say something about, is K-State going to buy an island?
I cannot say what the plans are. Our proposal, the task force that met last year to look at Second Life and Kansas State recommended the purchase by Anderson Hall of islands for use by K-State faculty and staff and students. That was presented to the provost in November-ish. Then the budgets have all, gone to pot, and my guess is that they will do as we have done and you've done, and that is they'll probably allow colleges or departments to buy their own island, and as opposed to Anderson Hall funding it. But we had proposed that maybe Anderson Hall would fund it, or we would buy it, and then, as we're doing with Betsy and others, leasing that to various entities at the university, and that way at least whoever bought it is cost recouping. But right now the provost has not responded in a formal way as to what his response to our recommendations would be. And I think they've got other fish to fry right now. And the good thing is it's a big enough space for the most part that you can divide it into eighths or tenths, and people can have for just a few dollars a month a space where they can do something and be productive. And I think you'll find very quickly when you get into Second Life that if you don't have or control some land, it's all you can do is go to other people's stuff and look at it. You can't build anything. You can't invite people. You can't control it unless you own a little bit. And it costs a little bit of money. But I think that over the next year, I hope we'll see some movement in that regard so that we can at least make it available to different offices or classes or departments who might like to explore it in some way.
I'd like to add that plot that is being used by Betsy for her class costs about as much as the cost of a telephone office. So, not a lot every month, but if it's something as a tool within your curriculum, you can look at it as that.
I think it's what, $40 a month? $30 to $40. Yeah.
And that included, we pitched in a little bit for training materials and that kind of stuff. So it's, we're probably making $5 a month about the actual cost.
I find it really interesting to see mine is very basic, and then how we advanced, and what can really actually be done with it. That people had the money and the time.
Yours is built in one afternoon.
Yeah. With no money, very much.
We do still have those other experts here. If you've got questions for Deb or Betsy or Rosemary or others. Yes, ma'am.
I'm imagining that if you have some undeveloped space in your island, you could also lease that undeveloped space to someone like Betsy, and then have some rent control going on, and or under bidding on some move that exactly.
Even better is when it's free.
So the land that I'm using is on Morrill Island, which I'm able to leverage because of my relationship with E-Extension. We've spent probably $50 on the whole livability project.
Volunteers to help with that project.
It's been all collaboration and volunteers to get that prototype, very basic idea of the project up and running.
If you could get a grant, that would just be helpful.
In fact, the person who's been managing the extension stuff is very good about getting volunteers. She pulls them in from not just the U.S., a lot of volunteers who help with building the work from Brazil. And so, I mean, it's an international grid. It's not a national grid. We're trying to help everywhere.
All right, if we don't have any more questions, I thank you all for attending. We had a great session. I'd like to thank Dr. Barrett and Dr. Sellers and Dr. Totten for sharing their work here, and for Larry Jackson for inviting you all to come and join us with the users group. And we hope to see you with our next roundtable, which I do believe is over wikis. We'll have a panel of people who are teaching with wikis this coming month. Thanks.
What?